Hey there, it's me, Amanda Zorns with Usborne Books and More. Hey, I'm super excited to share the details of our family's holiday book drive for the children of DCFS in the state of Utah. We're doing this book drive in honor of our angel Abigail, who was born on November 13th, 2013, and passed away on November 16th, 2013. When Abigail was born, we had no indication that there was going to be any problems, but she was quickly life-flighted to the local children's hospital, where she was diagnosed with a severe congenital heart defect called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. When she was 2 days old, we started preparing for open heart surgery, which would be the first of many open heart surgeries that she would have to experience. As we prepared, we started realizing that her health was declining at a very fast rate, and that she would not survive the first surgery. After much prayer and after much thinking, we realized that Abigail's time on this earth was short, and that we needed to say goodbye. And so when she was 3 days old, we kissed her and said goodbye to our baby temporarily, with knowing that we'd be able to be with her again someday. As a mother, I promised that I would spread my love for Abigail by serving other people. And so for each birthday, we've always tried to do something in honor of our Abigail. And this year, I thought a lot about what we should do as a family and what service that we could provide. This summer, I was kind of uninspired. I kept thinking about what we could do without any inspiration, without any idea of what to do. I ended up downloading a book. It was a free book on Amazon, so I ended up downloading it, called A Chance in the World. When I started reading it, I had no idea what the book was about, but it was written by a man named Steve, who shares his story of growing up in the foster care system. When Steve was placed in foster care, he was placed with a family called the Robinsons. And the Robinsons were really awesome at displaying that they were this perfect family. But behind closed doors, they repeatedly abused Steve mentally and physically. He talks about how they chipped away at the light and the hope that he had when he went into the family, and that he slowly became a prisoner in their lives. Um, they had all these weird rules, and one of the rules was that he couldn't read. But one day, a neighbor noticed that he was hiding a book and trying to read a book in the neighborhood, and so she brought over a box of books to Steve, and he quickly hid them and then would read them in the quiet, nasty, gross basement of the Robinson home. As I was reading this story, his words pulled at my heart and made me just hurt so much that somebody would do such horrible things to a child. Then he talks about the hope that he experienced as he read these books that he received from his neighbor. So I'm going to share kind of what he talks about. I'm going to read word for word what he says, because it's just amazing. And this is the inspiration as to why we are doing our book drive for the children at DCFS. He said that nothing I can accurately capture the power and timelessness of the gift Mrs. Levin gave me that day. Though I did not know it at the time, several years earlier, when I was 1.5 years old, a babysitter had written, "Drop Steve off at the latest family his mother is boarding him out to. He cried his heart out. This little boy doesn't have a chance in the world." Others believed this as well, especially those to whose care I was entrusted. I sensed it in their sidelong glances and empathetic shakes of their head. Their eyes sang what their tongue would not. "You are beyond repair." I had beaten my fists against this fate as long as I could. Now frequently starved and beaten almost daily, failed and abandoned by the institutions tasked with my care, and waiting for a family that was never going to come for me, I was beginning to lose my desperate battle with the Robinsons. Caseworkers at the time described me as tense, nervous, and anxious. What was really unfolding was something far more damaging, something they never looked hard enough to see. I had begun to resign myself to this fate, to accept that I was to be the Robinsons' prisoner and that their world would be the only world I would ever know. But the characters that unfolded in those books and the worlds they lived in showed me a different life, a future far beyond the pains of the house on Arnold Street. I learned that not everyone lived the way I did, that most people came from intact homes that offered joy and laughter, freedom and exploration, promise and possibility. And because of what I read, I developed the ridiculously absurd notion that one day I too could have a life like the ones I read about. As I read this, I was hit with the inspiration that I needed to run a book drive for the children in the foster care system in the state of Utah. Many of these children are pulled from their homes without any notice, and so they oftentimes will leave without anything, not even a toothbrush, as they leave their homes, let alone any books that they would have. Book ownership is so, so important to the success rate of children and their future. And we learn by Steve's account that as he read these books, it shared some hope and some light on his situation. He realized that the world would not always be this hard and that he could find happiness and peace outside of the Robinson home. In the story, he goes on to share that he eventually leaves the Robinsons. Um, he goes on to college and he becomes a very successful man. Obviously, books played such a huge role in who he became and the hope that he carried along with him throughout his life. So starting on November 13th and ending on December 13th, my family is accepting donations to purchase books for the children in the DCFS system. There are approximately 500 kids in the system. I would love it if we could provide a book for every single one of them so that on Christmas they can open up a book and it can be a book that they can own, that's age appropriate, and that allows them to realize that there is beauty in this world, and that there is a hope and a light that they can accomplish anything that they want. Partnering with Usborne Books and More, they will match 50% of our monetary donations. So if we can raise $5,000, then Usborne will match $2,500 of that, and we will be able to donate even more books so the kids can have more books in their book ownership. Thank you so much for helping us as we remember Abigail and the love that we felt when we were with her and the love that we continue to feel as we reflect on her and think about her throughout our day and throughout our lives. We're grateful to be able to honor her with this family book drive, and we ask that you help us honor her by donating so these children can have some awesome books on Christmas. Thank you so much, and God bless.